This is the backpack that I lived out of for about 8 years. I have a portable ice bath because I'm a Wim Hof instructor. I've had this for about 3 months now, and I have to say I don't know how I lived without my Starlink. Hey, I'm Brittany. Let's take a tour. Welcome to my van. Her name is Amanita, after Amanita muscaria, my favorite mushroom in the world. She's bright red, just like that mushroom. It is a 2022 Dave and Matt's van. This is my second rig. My first rig was about half this size. So I've been in here for about 4 months, and I'm very much luxuriating in the extra space. I can actually jump in here, which is pretty cool. And it is their LV 5.2 version, for those of you who are curious. One of the things that I loved about Dave and Matt vans, one of the reasons that I went with them, is that the storage is super convenient and lots of great options. So we have this really nice overhead storage up here. Lots of storage. I could probably do a little bit better job of organizing it. The sink is really nice. I can actually pull it out. I've never used this feature before, so I don't actually know if I'll use it, but it's a cool one. This can pull out, and I can pop it out the window if I ever needed to rinse my pup off. And then an induction cooktop, which, to be honest, I wasn't thrilled about initially. I really like cooking on fire. It does take a lot of electricity, but I've actually come to really learn to like it. Polly does too. I sometimes cook her nice little food on here. Isn't that right? I did keep my camp stove, and the main reason I kept that is because I also really like cooking outdoors. In my old van, which was half the size of this, I cooked outdoors frequently because it was just so much easier than in such a tiny space. And I opted to keep it and store it in here so that I still had that option. The fridge is super nice. In my old rig as well, I had one of the upright fridges, which was fine and doable, but it's such a luxury actually to have a front open fridge. I don't know the technical terminology. But the other upgrade from my old van is that I have a freezer in here, and it's super tiny, but that's been a huge bonus and benefit, and I use it a lot. So that's the fridge. Another thing that I really love about this is like this massive drawer. It serves as an everything drawer. I would call it a junk drawer, except in such a small space, you don't really keep a lot of junk. I do use most of what's in here. Underneath the sink is where my water storage is. So I have 2 7-gallon jugs down here. One is for fresh water. One is for my gray water. It is pretty convenient because I can fill it up at any place that you would go fill up your water bottles for home, I guess. So I don't necessarily need a hose or anything like that. On the downside, 7 gallons for me and my pup usually lasts about 5 days. So it's doable, but it's, I think, at the bare minimum doable for us. And then the last thing in the kitchen, which is the control center for everything in the van. So this turns my inverter on and off. I have a 2,000 watt inverter in the back, which I'll show you in a bit. This tells me what my battery capacity and what my battery life is. So I have 300 watt solar on the roof and 300 amp hours of lithium batteries. Right now I'm sitting at about 67% because I left my inverter on last night. But usually as long as it's sunny, I have absolutely no problem. No problems at all with that capacity. And right now I have my Starlink plugged in. I've had this for about 3 months now, and I have to say I don't know how I lived without my Starlink before. It's been a huge game changer for remote work and just being able to go more places than I could before. I actually started in nomadic life. I guess I'll start there. But I'd been living in Chicago for 10 years. I had a pretty traditional lifestyle. I owned a business. I had been married at one point, had a huge house, and just hit a huge wall with burnout, depression, was just super unhappy, unfulfilled. And I actually had been hosting couch surfers at the time, and there was this Italian man staying with me. But I remember saying to him, I wish I could do that. And his response was, why can't you? And I had nothing, I had no response to that. And within 6 months, I had sold everything that I owned. I sold my share of my business to my business partners and whittled everything down to the backpack that you saw earlier, and traveled the world by myself for about 2 years. When I moved back to the US, super fortunate, I lived with my best friends from college. One of them was super excited about the potential of helping me with a van build. It was a really wonderful, rewarding, stressful, chaotic learning experience. But I lived in that van for 16 months. And then at a certain point, just dealing with so many mechanical issues, which was really unfortunate with that rig, it became easier to upgrade. This is the bedroom. Super nice. I have a full-size bed. In my old rig as well, because it was so much smaller, I had a full-size widthwise, but it was about 8 inches shorter, which is fine when you're 5'2". But it is quite a luxury having an actual full-size bed in here. Plenty of space for extra pillows, which is great, and most importantly, enough space for my queen, Polly, because she does take up the majority of the bed, as they do. One of the things I absolutely love is that I have a hanging closet in this van. This is especially a luxury because prior to my old van, I actually lived out of a 40-liter backpack for almost 8 years of my life. So having space for clothes and clothing that isn't completely necessary and utilitarian has actually been quite a luxury. So on this side, that's where all my hanging stuff is, lots of storage in the bottom. And then on this side, we have extra shelves. I can't believe I own this much clothing, but if you have space, we'll fill it. Lastly, this cabinet. This is sort of my bathroom / extra storage, as well as, of course, the required sticker wall that every good van has. And yeah, a nice little mirror, because it is nice to look pretty every now and then, even when you live in a van. Underneath the bed, one of the things I wasn't sure about when I went with Dave and Matt's vans was how open under the garage was. But I actually love it because it makes the space feel so much bigger. And because there's more than enough storage everywhere else for my belongings, Polly actually basically gets the entire garage as her sanctuary. She has like an extra large dog bed under there, which makes her very happy. This entire seat here is storage for her food and treats. You can tell she's super cozy, likes having the extra space in the van. And then additionally underneath, these cover both the wheel wells. There's not any extra storage in there aside from a few small cubbies, but I can store some stuff on top of the wheel well, which is convenient. And then on the other side, this is where all of the battery bank, my inverter, all of the electronics are, and then a couple extra cubbies there, which is perfect for storing shoes. I have a portable ice bath because I'm a Wim Hof instructor. Probably a weird thing for having in such a tiny space, but it is fun to bring out occasionally. I do bring it out at Vanlife events every now and then, which is always a crowd pleaser. And then I actually added some extra shelves under here. Those were not part of the Dave and Matt's builds, but I have a bookshelf now, which is also quite a luxury, especially since my old rig was half this size. So that's something in this van that makes me really really happy. And then another shelf that I primarily use for food storage. Dave and Matt's vans. This particular rig, it's their LV 5.2. And it was $88,000, and that included a handful of upgrades, including the lagoon table and a ladder on the back and some upgraded solar and battery capacity. And on the road, what I do for a living, how I provide for myself and most importantly for Polly. I work remotely for an organization called Microdosing Institute. So I'm sort of Jill of all trades for them. On paper, I am the director of education, marketing, and strategy. So I wear a lot of different hats, but it's a ton of fun. It's super great working in the psychedelic space as well. One of the best parts about that space is that people are naturally a lot more open-minded to alternative lifestyles, flexibility, all things that make living in a van much more convenient and easier to do. So I'm super grateful for that opportunity, and that it allows me to have such an open, flexible, unique lifestyle. So the front of the van, I have a little extra storage up here. It's quite narrow, so it is a little limiting with what I can store. This though is actually, I don't know if I can pull it out. Just so that you can see how different my lifestyle has changed in the last few years. This is the backpack that I lived out of for about 8 years. So for 8 years, every single belonging I had fit in here. And now, like, I don't think I could get what's in this drawer to fit in this backpack. So this space feels like quite an upgrade and luxury for me to have so much more room than this. And then the front of the cab, so my old rig was a 1994 Ford Econoline, and when I got the new one, I was mostly excited just about having some extra space for me and my dog. But having a brand new van is so nice. Things like Apple CarPlay, I didn't realize how much I would be obsessed with and love it, but it's so nice. I also have air conditioning that works. My old van didn't have AC, so that's quite an upgrade as well. But also another nice thing is that my seats swivel, both of them, and I have the lagoon table mount that can also go here. So I can have a table in between both of these chairs, which is great because I can actually host people in my van now. So I've actually hosted dinner for 5 people in this van, which is super nice. It gets really cozy, but I love being able to have friends come over, make dinner, and actually socialize in my space. Thanks for watching and hanging out in my home with me. If you'd like to stay connected, if you're interested in getting in my portable ice bath someday, doing some Wim Hof breathwork or yoga on the road, you can connect with me on Instagram at breathworkcaravan. And if you're interested in microdosing specifically or microdosing psychedelics, my organization is Microdosing Institute. Our handle on Instagram is Microdosing Institute. Website is www.microdosinginstitute.com. We've got lots of great information there, and if you reach out to us there, I'll be the one you'll be talking to. So yeah, once again, thanks for coming in, and I hope to see you on the road.